Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So we had our last final Super Tuesday last Tuesday, and this Tuesday we have another slate of primaries. Now we're not going to have any slate of primaries that are going to be that super exciting between now and the end of primary season come early September. However, we still have some interesting races that do need to be covered. Obviously, Florida's coming up. We have New York. We have Wyoming, which means we get to get rid of Liz Cheney and end the Cheney dynasty once and for all. But this Tuesday, we have more of a subdued primary process. Obviously, Connecticut, you have Connecticut going on. There's a House primary there. Minnesota, we basically know who most, if not all, of the nominees are going to be, given the state convention. However, there is a special election that we will be monitoring. Then there is Vermont. Nobody really cares. And then we have Wisconsin. So today's video, we're going to focus mainly on Wisconsin, mainly on the governor's primary. We'll touch on the Senate primary, give a little bit of an update there. The 3rd district is likely to flip, so Republicans are going to have another seat they're going to gain in the state of Wisconsin, which overall is pretty epic, and the map in Wisconsin that was redistricted was pretty solid overall. So we do love to see it, and we are going to dive into it, but I have to tell you guys about shop.redeaglepolitics.com because my merch is going away. It is going away tonight at midnight. If you're watching this video tonight, well, you got to buy some rep merch if you're in the market for some because it's going away. You could save 15% off on every single order by the code BAND15. Make sure you use BAND15 because we were banned on YouTube, but now we're back. We've spent 40 hours in the doghouse, but we've got t-shirts, coffee mugs, we've got sweatshirts, tank tops, hoodies, you name it. It's all there. We got great designs, great merchandise, all of this and more at shop.redeaglepolitics.com. Again, use code BAND15 at checkout for 15% off of your order. And this video also would not be complete if I didn't tell you about my very good friends over at Noble Gold. Well, listen to this. Noble Gold, one of the sponsors of our show, has just been picked by Consumer Affairs, the ratings agency, as the overall #1 gold and IRA company in the U.S. Talk to the team today if you're thinking about precious metals, and if you're quick, they're giving away an incredible 10th-ounce American Eagle gold-proof coin with every qualifying IRA or 401k rollover. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold. Call the team now at 877-646-5347 to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. So, Wisconsin, we know what's up. Very razor-thin state the past 2 election cycles, and in 2018 it was actually very razor-thin. Tony Evers defeated the incumbent governor Scott Walker. Scott Walker had a party fatigue against him. He definitely had the blue wave against him, and he still held his own. He only lost by 29,000 votes at the end of the day, and it was a very razor-thin election. He did very well in the WOW counties, but in the western part of the state, he underperformed Trump in a lot of the driftless area counties, which went for Trump in 2016 and 2020. And Evers has kind of been under fire during his tenure. He's basically not really distinguishing himself from the leadership in the Democrat primary in a state that is moving vastly to the right over the past 10 years or so, which is very true. Now, the Republican primary field is going to be very close. It is going to be very narrow and divided. But either way, Evers is a very weak incumbent. He might even be weaker than Laura Kelly in the red state of Kansas. That is how vulnerable Evers truly is. I think he is arguably the most vulnerable incumbent governor this entire cycle, if not the most. And we understand that by now. He barely got by in 2018. He has not really been very likable. The dude was literally on social issues very far left. He's flying the gay flag all over the place in Madison, at the Capitol, etc., ordering that. He did nothing regarding the Waukesha issue, and he was very weak on the riots in 2020, and he was trying to influence the Rittenhouse verdict as well, given some of his tweets. He was basically trying to step in and say, oh, this is, if he gets off, it's white supremacy, etc. We know the fact that this guy is not fit for Wisconsin, especially at a time where Wisconsin is moving to the right because of Donald Trump, because of Trump's movement, because of Trumpism, because they want their country being put first. And Tony Evers, he ran as a fake moderate Democrat in 2018. He's shown his true colors, and he will likely lose. So the real question is, who is he going to lose to? And I think that we know the answer to that question depending on how the primary goes. Now, This is really shaping up to be a two-way race. It used to be a wide open field. You had Rebecca Kleefisch, you had Tim Michels, and you had Kevin Nicholson. Kevin Nicholson came in a close second for the Senate primary back in 2018, in the 2018 midterms. He probably would have done better than Leah Vuckmer did against Tammy Baldwin. Vuckmer was not really a very good candidate. Nicholson would have been better overall. He had more appeal in western Wisconsin, despite the fact he does have a little bit of a too, hawkish foreign policy per se. And Nicholson was polling at around an average of, 10 to 15%. He ended up dropping out after Donald Trump endorsed outsider businessman Tim Michels, who has been very solid so far rhetorically, fairly good on the issues. I'm looking forward to him winning the primary over somebody like Rebecca Kleefisch, who might have talked up a big game here and there, but is still a part of that GOP establishment, the old guard in Wisconsin. Even on social issues, she's caving. She was cheering on the fact that Obergefell v. Hodges got semi-codified in Congress. That's what she was cheering on. She doesn't fight the culture war at all. She's not willing to really do that. What makes you think she's going to get in there and really take a stand on everything else if she's going to cave? We know this. Now, is Kleefisch the worst Republican in the world? Maybe not necessarily, but either way, Tim Michels is much better, and he is Trump endorsed. And this is yet another Trump versus Pence proxy war. Trump versus the old guard establishment, maybe the establishment that tried to work to co-opt Trump's administration and steer it back in the establishmentarian way. But no, this is Trump picking his battle. He won it in Arizona against Pence, and now he's going to probably win it in Wisconsin against Pence with Kleefisch. And you see that there because Kleefisch will likely lose. The recent poll that had Kleefisch up by 2 had a ridiculous amount undecided. It was before the Trump rally, and it included Kevin Nicholson in the poll. Now, I will say you have another Tim in this race besides Tim Michels. It's Timothy Rathman, or Ramthun, or however you pronounce his name, because it's very difficult to pronounce. Now, he's a single-issue candidate. I don't really have anything against him. He is a fighter, but he is a single-issue candidate. He talks about election integrity, which I'm not saying you should ignore that. I'm not going to take the electabro stance and say, hey, you got to ignore this issue. No, this is a pressing issue that a lot of voters, a lot of base voters care about, but it's not really going to be enough to win a primary against somebody who Trump had endorsed like Tim Michels, who's also very solid on those issues, by the way. Make no mistake. Ramthun's a fighter. Keep him in the state legislature, keep him in the state senate or whatever. He's good on that issue. But running for governor, he's probably not going to have a shot in the primary. So if you were thinking about Ramthun, I'd encourage you to vote Michels, because you're just going to have Kleefisch assume the Republican nomination, and then nothing's going to get done on that issue. So we're going to be pragmatic here. And I'm not entirely sure how well Ramthun would do in a general election if he was the nominee. I mean, there were the same concerns that people threw at people like Mastriano or Lake, because they're, stupid people that were throwing these allegations about they can't win because they talk about 2020 or whatever. And it's like, they bring something else to the table. Doug Mastriano is a Christian nationalist, has been very anti-mandate, has been a fighter in the state Senate for years. And then you look at somebody like Kari Lake. She brings star power to the table. She's very solid on a wide array of issues. Her border security plan is extremely comprehensive. I don't know that much about Ramthun, but from the looks of it, his campaign doesn't seem that comprehensive, so I'm not sure that he's going to win the primary. But Tim Michels is a good candidate, and he will win the general election, and I look forward to seeing him take the victory come Tuesday. But we'll have to see when it's all said and done, because when he wins, he's going to go to the general election. And Evers in the polling so far is leading, but the polls are garbage. He's still below 50 in them. And Wisconsin polls are uniquely awful. And they were off in the 2018 race. All the polls had Evers up by like 4 or 5. And he only ended up winning by like 1 point. And that was actually a fairly good showing for the Wisconsin polls. And this time, I think we're going to see a very, very large polling error. And that's a whole nother topic that we could delve into, because a lot of the polls I've seen out of the Rust Belt especially are just incredibly laughable at this point. But furthermore, I wanted to touch base on the Senate race as well, despite the fact that the primary is pretty much over and decided. On the Democrat side, it's pretty evident that Mandela Barnes is the de facto nominee at this point. Everybody else has pretty much withdrew that was a viable candidate and endorsed Mandela Barnes. He's running up against a bunch of no-name characters there, and he's likely going to get around, I don't know, 65% of the vote in the primary, kind of like how Herschel Walker got a similar share to that in the Georgia Senate primary, because he was running against a lot of candidates that didn't have any name rec, and Herschel Walker had a lot of name rec. Barnes has a decent amount of name rec. He's the current lieutenant governor, knows he's probably not going to get a second term as lieutenant governor because of what's going on there, so he's becoming the sacrificial lamb against Ron Johnson, who, again, has a few bad votes here and there. I'm not necessarily going to sweep that under the rug, but overall is relatively decent as far as the current senators go. He's been very good in terms of the ethics investigations he's launched here and there, and we need him in the Senate to defeat Mandela Barnes for sure, and he likely will. Barnes is crazy. Barnes went on this anti-American rant on July 4th. He's just optically not the best candidate. He's somebody that's kind of like the Fetterman of Wisconsin, or you could even say the Katie Hobbs, because he's kind of in both camps. He's in like the progressive, like Bernie bro wing, the far left, as well as like the corporate Democrats still back him up a decent amount as well. He's likely going to go down probably by 5 to 10 points in this election. And of course, the polls the polls have Johnson down 2 to Barnes. That's very funny. It's hilarious. But those were old polls anyways. But I wouldn't be surprised if the new polls do, because the polls are just so awful at this point. But you're just looking at this. Even all the election mafia networks, they all have it as lean or tilt R. Even Decision Desk has it as solid R. That kind of shows you how Wisconsin, the realignment is happening. You look at 2020, it's going to happen. You're going to see a lot of the light pink areas get darker pink and red, and you're going to probably see maybe even a rebound in the suburbs, especially because statewide Republicans do better in the WOW counties than Trump does typically, even though I think you'll see a Trump rebound at least in Washington and Waukesha come 2024, and we'll see what happens. There's a lot of room to grow in the smaller metros. People don't understand this. Madison and Milwaukee, Dane County and Milwaukee County make up just 24% of the electorate, both those counties combined. And a lot of the surrounding areas to Madison and Milwaukee, they're not exactly like suburban Detroit counties or suburban Minneapolis. So Wisconsin definitely has a chance to become the next Ohio, and I think that when they flip the governorship and the slate of statewide offices, and when they keep the Senate seat by a ridiculous margin, we understood polls underestimated Ron Johnson significantly back in 2016, just as they did Donald Trump. It is very evident that the realignment is continuing throughout the entire Rust Belt, and Wisconsin is going to be ground zero for it. It's the next Ohio, and Ohio is basically becoming the next Missouri. It's very funny to see what is happening in real time, but they're all dropping. All the states the Dems used to have in the blue wall is coming tumbling down, and the red wall, the red dam, is being built up in the Great Lakes, and you'll love to see it. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.